Welcome to LOA Today. Walt Thiessen and life coach Steve Rowell here. Today is Thursday, February the 28th, 2019. It's 4 p.m. in New York, 1 p.m. in Los Angeles, 9 p.m. in London, and Sydney, Australia. It's good morning, 8 o'clock in the morning there. Wherever you are in the world, thank you for tuning in for another episode of LOA Today, your daily dose of happy. Even twice the daily, which is even better, so you get twice the daily dose. And we're exchanging notes here, Steve and I, about how our weeks are going. We've both been pretty busy, but I think we've agreed this has been a good week. This has been a positive week overall, and so that's what we need going into the show, right? We got to have that positive mindset, Steve. Otherwise, things don't work right.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. Yeah. Positive mindset is key to all this, isn't it?
It really is.
It's what pushes us forward with our plans and goals and desires. Because if you're focusing on negative things, guess what?
Exactly.
You're creating.
Yeah. Well, actually, that's where all the issues come from, right? Trying to figure out how to get into the positive when we're not in the positive. Trying to figure out how to get back into that good feeling place again, because those of us who know say, oh, wait a minute, that's where I got to be. I got to be over there. What am I doing wrong here? Oh, no.
Yeah. It's, once you're aware of it,
it does get
like
easier.
We've said before, it can, when you first start with this stuff, it can be quite scary, can't it? Because, especially if you're used to thinking in a negative way and worrying and
right.
It's your sort of default programming. It can be quite a scary thing once you realise the power of your thought processes and what they can achieve in your life. Yeah. But once you start working and changing those, then that's when the real fun starts.
I've mentioned before that I'm working on trying to create a local workshop to discuss the law of attraction and relationships with probably mostly single people who are looking to find their forever mate, their soulmate, or their twin flame, or whatever you want to call it. And it's been like with any other project, it's been a challenge to keep on top of myself, so to speak, to get into that good place and stay there. I was struggling quite a bit during parts of the week, and I love the fact that I have so many life coaches that I do the show with, because that means I get a little free coaching at the end of each show, right? And one in particular, Cindy Chavez yesterday, she did the afternoon podcast with me, doing one of my favorite topics. We get to do Neville Goddard once a week together, and that's a lot of fun. But afterwards, she was telling me about a book that she had read, just read like that day, and recommended that I read it because I explained to her what I was dealing with, what specifically I was dealing with. She said, this will probably be good for you. And so I looked at it, and interesting title. The title of the book is Don't Do Your Best. And what it's actually trying to say is don't go for perfection. Just, put out whatever you got to put out right now and fix it later. Don't try to make it all perfect now, which is a great message. Because getting it perfect is how we go. That's how we drive ourselves crazy, and I'm probably better at that than anybody. Driving myself crazy, trying to go for perfection, and it actually did make a difference today. I made some good progress on the promotion video that I've been putting together. I had gotten it down to a 22.5-minute video, which is pretty long for a promotion video, and today, after some trimming and cutting, I got it down to 13 minutes, so almost cut in half. Just because I got into that good feeling place where I said, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be what it needs to be. That's all. So there's one way. There's a method to get into that good feeling place.
This is it, because anything that you do, because we all have days when we're performing at a certain level, and other days we might drop down to a lower vibrational level.
Right.
And we're always moving up and down between these different areas of capability, as it were. So,
yeah.
And all you can do is your best on that day.
Mm-hmm.
And whether that's sometimes 10% of your normal capacity or 90% of your normal capacity, it doesn't matter. As long as you're still moving forward, as every single step you make forward, regardless of how tiny or minute that is, actually, you should still celebrate it, because you're still moving forward and you're still making progress.
Yes.
A lot of people forget that.
Well, it's easy to forget, because when you're in the middle of the stuff that doesn't feel so good, that's the time you don't remember it. That's the whole point. You're in a place where you don't really
That's
feel
it.
it. I mean, what do you do? I imagine you don't fall into that negative spiral place too often anymore. But when you do, how do you? First of all, how do you catch yourself, and then what do you do to climb out?
Catch myself. Well, I'll give you a specific example. This week's been very different for me.
Okay.
So on Wednesday, I had the interview with the newspaper about my story and what I'm doing with the church,
right?
And how I'm trying to move things forward in a different way,
right?
And that was very challenging for me on Wednesday.
I imagine.
I think I'd set the intentions of what I wanted to get out of it and how I wanted it to be portrayed in the newspaper and online. And I think the reporter that I was speaking to, she got that. She's going to write it in that way. But afterwards, exactly like you just said, Walt, I tend to try and strive for perfection more often than not, which is not always a good thing, because what is perfection? My version of perfection might be completely different to somebody else's version of perfection, because it's all about perspective, isn't it?
It is.
And all you can do is put out there what feels right at that point in time and see what then comes back from it. But yeah, afterwards, after the interview, because I was going back over things that happened in my childhood that were difficult things to
sure.
to remember
and rehash
difficult emotions.
Yeah,
I had to bring the emotions from those past events into the present to be able to get across how powerful that was and what actually happened in a way that could be written about to give perspective, if that makes sense.
Sure.
So I was sat in these feelings and these emotions that I didn't really want to be in, and ones that, not that I hide away, I accept that they're there. But normally I will choose to replace them with something positive and move forward. This time I had to sit with them a little bit longer, which wasn't a nice place to be.
Yeah.
So after the interview, I did feel a little deflated and not my normal, usual positive. Let's go out and let's go fantastic. So I had to take a step back. I had to go and take myself off and sit silently for probably about 20 minutes to half an hour.
Wow.
And get myself into a meditative state of quiet in my mind.
That's good, though. I mean, having the presence of mind, first of all, to do that. And second of all, not a lot of people will take that much time during a day to give themselves the time that they need, but you did. And that alone is fantastic that you could do that.
But I needed to do that because when I'm sat in a quiet, in mind silence, as it were, I can actively listen to the thoughts and watch the thoughts that are coming up for me. And work out what's really going on. Right. And then choose which thoughts to listen to, which ones to say, okay, I understand why you're there, but I don't need you anymore. But also, what I'd done was actually quite amazing and phenomenal. And actually, I should be celebrating this. So I booked a night away in a hotel with Gemma.
Oh, nice.
So we went
great.
and stayed in a hotel in Cambridge and celebrated. Had a nice meal and a few glasses of wine. And that was quite nice.
That's great. Yeah, good move. I like that, celebrating it, because that's not necessarily the first thought we have when we went through something that was important but difficult. We forget to celebrate. Yeah. That celebration is really important. In fact, I've come to the conclusion that not only do we need to celebrate, we need to, in a sense, celebrate loudly. We need to celebrate on a high emotional level, so that we first of all, knock away anything that was unpleasant that was coming along with it. And second of all, remind ourselves just how good it was of whatever it was that we were doing. And third, to just feel good, to feel really, really good. Because that's what that does. When you push yourself to that big celebration feeling, that's a big feeling.
It is, and your subconscious mind actually enjoys the chemicals that are created in that act of celebration.
Right.
So the more that you do that, the more then your subconscious mind wants to push you to do more new things, more challenging things, and gradually that's how you level your life up. That's how you level it up, because your subconscious is suddenly craving more of these new experiences, more of these things that cause discomfort and fear. But then you overcome and you get celebration. So guess what? The subconscious says, give me more of that, because that feels nice.
Right. Exactly.
It's one of the most important things for me is celebrating. Because if I don't do that, I can't anchor in the good feelings of what I've created. And my subconscious won't accept the changes that have been made. So it'll go back to old behaviour programs quite quickly.
Yep. Yeah, that's true.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I thought we could, I don't really see a lot of questions coming in. Let me just double check. Well, Jeffrey is usually our cheerleader, and he's cheerleading us today. And he's also making a comment. He says, if it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't change you. That's true.
Exactly.
If it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't change you. But
you're always sat up.
He also wrote wine with 2 exclamation points, so he likes the wine part a lot.
Is that the wine? Yeah, the wine's nice. A nice expensive. It's got to be a nice expensive bottle of wine.
There you go. Okay.
Not, it's got to be special.
None of that cheap stuff. Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I thought we'd go through some of the posts that show up on the Facebook Law of Attraction group pages, because some of them sometimes have interesting questions to address, and topics, and not only the questions that are raised, but also some of the answers are interesting to talk about too. So I figured we could do that. First one that I found, and this is I'm literally looking on the Law of Attraction Changed My Life group right now. Someone posted a very quick question. He or she, I'm not sure which it was, said, I have bad news. I tried the 555 technique and it didn't work. That's all they said. I'm not sure what the 555 technique is, but it's a technique for getting yourself into a good mind space. We'll just leave it at that. So a technique comes along and it doesn't work. It doesn't work. What do you do when it doesn't work?
Well, I suppose, is it not working? Is it just that you believe it hasn't worked? So are you looking for the right things? Are you using the technique in the right way? Are you asking the right questions? Are you asking for the correct, are you actually asking for your desired outcome, and are you actually focusing on it in the right way? Or are you still coming from a place of lack?
Yes.
It's all right using a technique, but you need to use the technique in the right way. And it's got to be then backed up by the mindset and the action that goes into that afterwards as well. Otherwise, it's like visualization. A lot of people will just expect to be able to visualize something like, I don't know, $1 million check or whatever. And then it just miraculously appear, which doesn't work if your belief system doesn't
support it.
Doesn't match up with that turning up for you. Yeah. It's just not going to happen. You've got to go through the process of getting yourself on the same vibrational frequency and level as the thing that you're trying to bring into your awareness.
Right. Yeah, Joel Elston likes to talk about how most people, you ask them to visualize and imagine getting a $300 million yacht, and it's just too far out there. It's just too much. You can't possibly do that. Especially if they're making $50,000 a year. But if they're making $50,000 a year, they can probably visualize $75,000. So you go for $75,000, and then once you get to $75,000, then you go maybe to $100,000, or you work your way up incrementally, because it's within reach. It's within believability.
Yeah.
Right?
Which is what you do with. Well, you've spoken about that before, haven't you, Walt? With where you started looking at houses. Yeah. And rather than jump straight up to the massive, it was just outside the price bracket that you thought you could achieve. And that's how, exactly how you do it, because it's what my coach Dan calls it, micro shifting again.
Micro shifting, yeah, I remember he said that.
To micro shifting your subconscious and your belief system gradually towards the end goal, which might be £1 million house, but you start off at 300,000 where you are now, and then gradually keep going up step by step by step.
Exactly.
so that your subconscious can keep up with that quite easily, and it's believable. But yeah, it works. It definitely works.
And there are a number of different ways that it doesn't have to be for just something financial. It can be true for relationships. It can be true for health. It can be true for anything. You can incrementalize almost anything, really. I mean, I remember doing it last year when I was trying to resolve my ligament issues in my knees. I don't remember if I've told you that one. I told everybody else. Well, just as it is, last winter, I'm not even sure how I did it, but I injured the ligaments on both my knees. And by May, I was practically incapacitated. I could hardly walk. And up until then, I'd kind of forgotten that I could apply law of attraction principles to change my mindset and heal myself. But I finally remembered to do that. And then I said, oh, God, now how am I going to do this? Because I'm dealing with this chronic pain every single day in, day out, you know. I did find that I had least pain when I was laying down. So, when I was lying down. So I would lay down and I would try to do my work lying down. And at first I couldn't do it. I mean, because the pain was just so constant. It was just right there. But I kind of got a determination going. Like, I'm going to do it for like a half second. If I can just get control of my mind, get control of my focus for a half second, that's a victory. And I managed to do it. And the way I actually managed to do it was when I'm lying down, or when I was lying down, my right knee would stop hurting. My left knee was still hurting, but my right knee would stop. So I had one good knee at that point, so to speak. You know, so I would say to myself, okay, my left knee, but the way my right knee feels right now, that's the way my left knee feels. That's what I'm going to focus on right now. Can I maintain focus long enough so that I don't feel that pain in the left knee for half a second? And it took a bit, but I did. I finally did it. And I said, okay, I did it for half a second. I wonder if I can do it for a second. It surprised me, too, that I actually managed to do it for that full half second. The pain was gone, 100% gone. You know, so I went for a second, and it took some more time, and I finally got there, and I actually blanked it out for a second. I think that particular session, I got it up to like 2 or 3 seconds that I could blank it out. And it was a lot of work. It was a lot of work getting that far. I mean, I practically had to take a nap after that. I was so tired. But I started the pattern, and I overcame that knee pain to the point where I was 98% mobile within a week after being laid up for like 3 or 4 months.
Started off small, you micro it, and then it gets longer and longer and longer and longer. And once you've got to,
exactly.
I think there's usually a turning point in your belief system where it's not. Yeah, you've got half a second, then you've got a second, then you've got maybe 5 seconds, and then 10 seconds, and then you start getting really big leaps then, because your mind's now seeing that, hang on a minute, I now believe that I can do this, and I can do this all of the time and for longer periods of time. If I can do it for this short period, I can do it for longer. Why can't I now? And then your mindset's changed, doesn't it? Your belief system's changed automatically because it's experiencing it through that practice.
And what's really cool is the subconscious mind starts to believe it, so that I don't have to effort it as much. I don't have to fight so much to get there. So, even within about 2 days, I think it was, if I tried to put my mind onto no pain, I feel good in my leg, I could do it quickly, and I could hold it for a long period of time with a lot less effort. And that was the part that surprised me, the lot less effort part. But it was great, you know, because now I felt like this was going to actually heal at that point. And from that point on, it was really quick. I didn't have to do a whole lot of work after that. I did a little bit every day, but not a whole lot. And it healed fairly quickly. Then it reached a plateau, interestingly enough, which I stayed at for a few months, where I was fine walking. I was fine in almost everything except going into a deep squat. If I went into a deep squat, big pain in the knees. And I can't say I've really done the work since then on a consistent basis, but I've done some. So now it's to the point where there are times I can get down there and have no pain at all. Sometimes I still have it. So I haven't really finished off the project, so to speak. And I'm not quite sure why. I think I was kind of a little bit afraid to try to finish it off. I'm not sure why that was either. But the point is, I know I can still do it when I'm ready to. And I also noticed, too, that I don't experience the pain when I'm in a good frame of mind, without having to even think about it. You know, I just, or especially if I've been doing things and my body's warm, so obviously my knees are warmed up and so forth. That helps a lot too. But mainly it's what's my mindset. If mindset in general is not a good one, chances are a squat's probably going to hurt. If my mindset is a good one, chances are it's probably going to be fine, which is kind of interesting too.
Isn't it awesome that the mind is so so powerful. But it's the same with a lot of. I mean, I have clients that they'll be given tools to use, but then they come back and they say, "Well, nothing's changed." I said, "Well, have you been practicing the tools?" Well, no, not really. Well, that's why. So, like you said, then it takes effort. It takes a lot of effort, and it is tiring when you first start. Mm-hmm. When you're first trying to create a pattern that you've built up over many, many years, it's really, really difficult, and it is really tiring, mentally tiring, and sometimes, depending on what it is, physically tiring as well.
Sure.
But that hard work that you put in at the beginning, and that consistent, changing behaviour pattern, and then celebrating. Don't forget the celebrating.
Oh, believe me, I celebrated that later that week when all of a sudden the pain was gone. I was like, "Whoa, this is great!"
And that's such an important thing, because then you're reinforcing it and reinforcing it and reinforcing it over and over again.
Yeah.
And then it becomes habitual. Then you don't have to consciously think about doing it anymore. It just happens. It just happens automatically. It becomes an automatic program. And that's the beauty of it. That's where you want to be with your manifesting. That's where you want to be with goal setting. That's where you want to be with reaching your goals, exceeding them. But everybody can get there just with practice. And it's not actually that difficult once you've done it a couple of times. You're like, oh, actually, it's actually easier than sitting in the pain that I was in previously.
Oh yeah, no doubt about that. I remember also, back when I was first trying out the mirror exercises, where you talk to yourself in the mirror every day, tell yourself you love yourself, and tell yourself all these kind and nice positive things and so forth. Nothing happened for the first 3 weeks. Absolutely nothing happened, except that after about the third week, there was a slight reduction. What I was trying to do was eliminate all that negative self-chatter that goes on. You know, that background chatter. I was so tired of it, and Jack Canfield had promised in his article that if you do this for 30 days, it would eliminate that chatter. I said, hey, I'm willing to try that, even though my prior history with doing 30-day programs was horrific, because I didn't stick with them. You know, I said, I'll do this for 30 days if I can get rid of that negative self-talk. That would be wonderful. So after about 3 weeks, the negative self-talk was still there, but it was quieter. It wasn't shouting at me. It was more like conversational level. And by day 30, it was gone. So no progress for 3 weeks, except for a little tiny bit of progress. And that can be a little bit, a lot to deal with, trying to keep going with a program that, you know, you're not really sure it's going to work, and you've been doing it for every single day for 3 weeks. Like, oh, geez, this isn't working. But I kept going. That was the thing.
What a lot of people do. They'll give up before they have the breakthrough.
Yeah.
And then it's always either the program's fault or someone else's fault. But it's about taking responsibility. Did you actually finish it? No, I didn't. Well, how do you know it? How do you know it didn't work? Because you haven't continued right through and practiced it to the level that you were asked to. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's common. It is common too, but it can be, I suppose, quite demoralising if you're not seeing any change.
Oh, definitely it is. No doubt at all. I mean, and even after I got the change, after 30 days, I had the change, and it wasn't actually completely gone. It was like 98% gone, but there was every once in a while a voice would come back. So I stuck with it for another 20 days or so, and then for some reason I stopped. And the funny thing is, after I stopped, it started slowly to come back. And I'm thinking, why did I stop? This is not a good thing.
But this is it. If you keep going and keep going, eventually it won't come back.
Right.
Eventually, it wouldn't come back. But yeah, it's a funny thing, the subconscious mind, isn't it?
It really is.
I enjoy playing with it now. I enjoy playing with my own subconscious and seeing where I can take it and what I can get it to believe and move towards out of choice rather than it just dismissing things.
Yeah.
So,
sure. Yeah,
it's crazy stuff.
Jeffrey's got a question for us to answer, in this context. He says, let's see, there was a little conversation between him and Anne-Marie, actually. Hello, Anne-Marie. They were talking about wine. Going back to the when we were talking about wine and celebrating.
Yeah.
The question he raised is, when you're celebrating, are you happy when, or somebody who's celebrating, are they happy when they're doing it? Do they believe what they're trying for is possible? And that's really a portion of it, because if you have doubt about that, you're holding yourself back, aren't you? And yet that's going to be the thing. If you're doing it for the first time, you're going to have some doubt.
Yeah, of course you are. I think you've always got to, you wouldn't celebrate unless you've had some sort of breakthrough. I think that's the key. I wouldn't just celebrate for no reason. I didn't quite understand that question. What's the
I think he was kind of referring to some of the stuff we talked about earlier, including the celebration part. And he was just asking the question, in general, when somebody is doing their celebrating, or more precisely, when they're doing the activity, are they happy when they're doing the activity? Are they getting themselves into a happy place? Because, I mean, that's an Abraham concept, right? If you want to try to make some kind of an important change, or you want to attract something, you want to get yourself into the best feeling place you can before you do X, whatever X is. Whether it's a process or a practice that you're doing, or maybe it's just a daily activity. I mean, it's segment intention, that kind of thing. But you want to get yourself into a positive place before you do something. So the question he's raising was, are they happy when they're doing it? Because that's going to make a big difference.
I think you've got to be, haven't you? You've got. I mean, you wouldn't be doing something and moving towards something that was going to make you unhappy. I'd assume you wouldn't want to do that.
I would hope.
That'd just be wrong.
Some people I wonder about, but yes.
I mean, this morning we got up and we went to the. Because did I tell you about my wife manifesting a test drive in an Aston Martin?
You referred to it. You didn't give us the whole story, so go ahead and tell the story.
Well, Gemma's my wife. She's really good at keeping herself in the present moment. The majority of the time, she very rarely steps out of the present moment. She just got that used to practicing being there. That she tends to manifest things just like this, just really quickly. I can't remember where we were. I think we were in the car or somewhere, but we were driving. And she'd either seen the brand new Aston Martin Vantage on her phone or wouldn't driven past. I can't remember exactly. But she just made the comment, I'd absolutely love to test drive the new Aston Martin Vantage. And she showed me it was on her phone. She showed me the picture of it. And she said, isn't that a beautiful car? And you could see the emotion in her face and how excited she was about it. And then literally 2 hours later, we were at home and the Aston Martin garage phoned us and asked us if we wanted to test drive.
2 hours later. That's crazy.
I'm serious. I mean, it still blows me away now. But she mentioned at the time, she said it'd be great if we got some free food as well. So they actually sent us a menu and said we could order breakfast before the test drive.
That's fabulous. That's absolutely fabulous.
Yeah, so we did that. We did that today, so we that's what we've been doing today. So I've been sort of off the radar today.
That is insane. Wow.
It is. But this is what you're saying about being happy in the process. I would quite like an Aston Martin eventually for me. So we got up this morning at the hotel. We went to the Aston Martin garage. But before we walked in, I'll get myself into the present moment. This is about getting yourself in the right, which is this question, getting yourself in the right frame of mind and the right place before you go into a situation that you want to influence in a certain way. You want an outcome to come out of it. So I wanted to experience that car in the best possible way, in the most enjoyable way, so that I can get myself to the vibrational level of having and owning it and driving it and all these things, so that then it's easy for me to manifest later on when I'm thinking about it and to bring it into my reality as my car.
Yep. And
not a test drive. So we had the car from 9 a.m. until 2 p.m. today. And yeah, so what was I talking about? I lost my thread. Yeah, so we pulled up and we sat in the car Gemma's in there now anyway, so she's fine. Just leave her to it. Just leave her to it. She's away. But I'll have to literally shut my eyes and get myself into the now, and then I'll visualise how I want the whole experience to go, and then go off and do the experience. And sure enough, fantastic, absolutely awesome time in that car. Mm-hmm. It was brilliant.
That is brilliant.
And so we've ordered the Aston Martin V8 Vantage Roadster. It's not out yet. You can't buy them yet. So we've ordered one from the Universe today. That's Fabulous. What I've done today. So
wow.
Done it whilst we were in the Aston Martin Coupe, because that's the only one you can get right now for that new model. So I've ordered my Roadster from the Universe. So we'll see. I think they come out in 2020 at some point. The guy said.
So this is a story that's in progress. This is a story that isn't even done yet. That's what's so cool about it.
No, it's just starting. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very good.
So it's brilliant. But this is what it's about. You can go out there and have fun with it. Decide what you want to do. It doesn't matter how ridiculously out there it is. Just go and experience it, because then you can anchor in how it feels to have these things that eventually you'd like to have. It doesn't matter if it's 10 years down the line, 5 years down the line. If that's your belief system thinks it's going to take you 10 years to earn enough money to get one, then it will.
Yes.
But once you get used to this stuff, because we started off with small Ford Fiestas, and then we've gradually ramped it up as our belief system has changed and micro shifted up the levels, so that we believe 100% that we can manifest whatever we want now.
That's a good thing. Anne Marie actually has a question about Gemma. She says, "What's Gemma's technique for staying present?"
She uses the Sedona method the majority of the time, I think. I don't know, to be honest. I couldn't answer for her. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. There are that many different ways of doing that. I'll ask her and give you the answer on the next podcast, because she's not with me right now, so I can't ask the question.
That's fine. Jeffrey also asked, what else is showing up for us? I have a story about that. I can't tell you the whole story, because part of it is something that I really can't discuss on the air. But Louise and I went to visit a professional person, not a doctor, but a professional person in a professional capacity today. And we're having a conversation with this person. We're trying to decide whether to hire him to do a service for us. Yeah. And as we're talking to him, he mentions how he has this home in Vermont and how he and his family are thinking about actually eventually retiring to Vermont. Louise had spent time when she was in her 20s in Vermont. She had lived in two areas. One is a ski area called Mount Snow. The other one is a city on Lake Champlain called Burlington, Vermont. Really nice city. Very small city, very, very nice, comfortable, small town feel to it. And she loved both of those places. Mount Snow is near a very small town. They call it a city, but it's a town called Wilmington, Vermont. So anyway, as soon as Louise hears that they have this house in Vermont, she says, "Oh, we're in Vermont." And he says, "Oh, Wilmington." And like, oh, we're like falling out of our chairs at this point. Turns out that not only is this guy's family living, or do they have a I guess you call it a spare home or a vacation home in Wilmington, but they are planning to move there for retirement when it comes time for him to retire. And on top of that, they've been there for over 20 years, including the period when my wife was in Mount Snow. So they were there at the same time. They just didn't know each other. And they're comparing notes on all these people. They know all the same people. They lived, the house that this guy has is on the same road that my wife first lived on when she first moved there. The same road, up the road. I mean, it was crazy. You start getting signs like that, and that was... Obviously, for us, the big sign was, well, this is a guy we want to do business with. The universe is saying, yes, you got a connection going on here. Do this. Work it, So.
It's awesome, isn't it?
Yeah.
But when you get synchronicities like that, it's about being aware. It's about being able to listen. What I mean by listen is not necessarily with your ears, but listen to the signals and the things that are going on around you, because it's craziness. But for example, the work that I'm doing with the church and the Survivors Trust, I was wanting to get in touch with the press to talk about what I was doing and why I was doing it. But I didn't know who to contact. I sent numerous emails to newspapers, to TV channels, but I didn't get any responses back.
Really? That's really interesting.
Yeah, so I asked, so I thought, well, something's not right here.
Yeah.
What am I doing wrong? So I meditated on that, and I asked for something to show up to let me know which direction to go in, because I'd never done anything like this before, so I was clueless about how to approach it.
Right.
And the Survivors Trust, I'd already spoken to the church, and the Survivors Trust, the charity, I phoned them up because I thought, well, they might know somebody in the press. So I phoned them up, and the guy there gave me a telephone number to call of one of their patrons who knows people in the press. So I typed this number into my mobile phone, and I rang it, and it came up and it said a name on my phone. So the number was already stored in my phone. And it just happened to be the solicitor that won my case with the church.
Oh my goodness.
And I was like,
wow.
Really? Really?
Thank you.
So I spoke to him, and then that's how it's all gone off in these directions now. And it's just that it's things like that you can't even make up, can you?
No, you can't. And if you tried to make them up, no one would buy the story. They wouldn't believe it. That is something. Isn't that interesting, though? Because here you have a pretty important story to tell. The media that you reached out to wasn't responsive to it, and that's something that people kind of they look askance at. But clearly, from our perspective as deliberate creators, we understand it didn't have anything to do with the media per se. It had to do with you. It had to do with your vibration. But the rest of society would tend to say, oh, those terrible media people, they ignored this very, very important story. How could they do that? This is what's so wrong with our society. That's not what was going on.
Not what was going on. I was blocking it from happening. Number one, because I probably didn't believe my story was important enough. Number one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Number two, I was fearful about possibly appearing on TV, and the story going in the paper. Again, I'm blocking it. So I asked for something to come from somewhere else to show me which way to go in that would be suited to my vibrational energy at that point in time.
Right.
When it threw my solicitor that won my case back at me, now I feel comfortable because I know this guy. That's what's happened. Yeah. I've asked for a comfortable way for me to move this forward.
And you got it.
An easy, comfortable way.
Yeah.
I use those phrases quite often when I'm deliberately creating. Okay. So I'll use either an easy, fun, playful. I'll use those words all the time. Or comfortable, because then I get exactly what I'm asking for, and it's easy for me to move forward with things then because it feels comfortable. It feels easy, rather than me believing it's going to be difficult. So therefore it is. I'm asking for it in a comfortable way, and that's what I get.
I'm going to use that actually, because this past week I talked about how I'm working on this workshop, and I had some time to. I kept trying to set aside time to do the next step in the editing process, and I kept putting it off because each time that I'd come up against it, so to speak, and say, okay, now's my time to work on it, it felt wrong. I didn't feel good at all. And I would say that the project felt wrong, but really I didn't feel right. I felt wrong. I just didn't feel comfortable. Nothing felt good about it. And on some instinctive level, I kind of knew this is not a time to work on it, because I know what happens when you work from a bad feeling place. But it also meant that I was feeding the wrong goal. I was procrastinating. So there was like a tension going on there. So I'm going to remember this one because I'm going to see if I can kind of shorten those time frames, so to speak, and help myself get into that comfortable place just by asking for things like it's got to be comfortable, it's got to be somebody I know, or something along that line. Because I think I've actually done that in the past, but I just didn't do it consciously.
Yeah, it does work very well because I use it the majority of the time with most, even when I'm now manifesting money into my life. I used to struggle with money a lot, but now I'll say a phrase similar to I'm so grateful and happy now that money comes to me in an easy and playful way in increasing quantities from multiple sources or something along those lines. Right. I'll make different ones up as I go that suit the situation that I want to create. But it's the easy, playful, fun bit because you're creating things that you're going to enjoy. Therefore, you're going to stay in that happy place a lot longer. And does that make sense? Yes, it does.
Yeah, I think so. No, that makes sense. There was as we were talking, there was a quote that I saw in the group, and I looked at the quote and I read it, and it didn't seem right to me. And so I thought I'd bring it up with you, see what your reaction is. It's one of these little meme quotes, right? And the quote says, "You will suddenly meet the right person. Suddenly your health will improve. Closed doors will open. New relationships will blossom. Goals will be reached, and prayers will be answered." That's the quote. What do you think of that?
Repeat that again.
Okay. You will suddenly meet the right person, and suddenly your health will improve. Closed doors will open. New relationships will blossom. Goals will be reached, and prayers will be answered.
It's living in the future, isn't it? So it's
partly, yeah.
It's not. We're not saying that this has happened because you've got to come from a place of it already being here and being grateful for it now, not projecting. I will have I will reach my goals, or I will have my prayers answered. It's the wrong way. It's disjointed. It's the wrong way around.
Yeah.
And suddenly.
And the suddenly part's kind of interesting too. The sentence that caught my attention was the first sentence. You will suddenly meet the right person, and then the rest of it is consequences from that. And I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, what does meeting the right person have to do with those other things coming along? And what it cued in my mind was, they're thinking to themselves, if they meet the right person, that will make them happy, and therefore all these other things will happen. And that's why I realized, no, they got it backward. You have to make yourself happy to meet the right person. You have to work on yourself to meet the right person. You can't get the other person to make you happy.
People rely on things, and the problem with this one now is that people tend to love things over other people, or even themselves.
Over themselves, yeah, that's
so
it.
They're often chasing the next thing from a place of lack.
Yes.
Because they think that thing will fill this hole of emptiness that they feel inside, but actually you've got to fill that up yourself.
That's right.
You have to fill it yourself with your love for you. Nobody else can give you that. A house, a car, nothing else can give you any of that. You're allowed to have nice things, but they are just things. They can't give you, a car can't give you love. A house can't give you love. Only you can give yourself love. You can't give anybody else love unless you're full of it first.
That's it. And if you think otherwise, you're full of it. But it's so true. I mean, and I understand why someone would post that, because it does appeal. Like, all I have to do is find that one right person and I'll be happy and all my problems will be solved. That's very common thought process. That's very typical, And when you're first learning how to be a deliberate creator, I can see how that is very attractive. It's a very attractive idea to adopt, because you have to get into a happy place. All I have to do is have something make me happy. That's all. Just find something that makes me happy. Not realizing that, oops, wait a minute, we reversed the concept. We reversed the whole concept here. I have to make myself happy. I am the source of my happiness. And there's nothing wrong with experiencing things as a way to help make yourself happy. I mean, it's a jump-starting process. But I think it's really important to remember that what you're trying to do is learning to make yourself happy so that, I mean, ideally, this to me is the test. If you can be in a not good place and have no place to go, no place you can even get outside because there's, it's a thundering rain out there or something like that, or, it's a driving snowstorm or something. And there's nothing you can do at home. The power's out, and there's nothing else you can do. So the only thing you can do is reach inside and make yourself happy. Can you make yourself happy? That's the test. If you can do it under those circumstances, you are now a deliberate creator.
You can do it anywhere.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people that go on this journey, not everybody, but a lot of us that have become deliberate creators and are aware of our feelings, are aware of our thoughts, and able to direct them in the way that we want. Therefore, the majority of the time, I'm not saying I'm always happy, because I'm not. I don't think anybody ever is. But the majority of the time, we can direct it in a way that keeps us on that level of self-awareness and happiness and light and joy and love, because that's the place you need to be creating from. Because
right.
you can create from hate, you can create from lack.
You won't like the results much, but
you won't like the results. But if you're in that place of, for me, it all comes down to love. That's the main part of it. If you've got love in here that is all yours, you don't need anybody else to put it in there. You don't need anything else to put it in there. Then the majority of the time, you'll be leading your life and your creations from that place of love. So if you're doing that, what could go wrong?
Mm-hmm.
What can go wrong? There's nothing to fear anymore. And I think the majority of us that have got to that place have generally been through something, or been to a place like yourself of depression, and being really low, the lowest of the low. You can't go any further down. And then you realise, hang on a minute, I've got nothing, I've got no one, it's just me, and actually it's not that bad. Because when you've got nothing else to lose, and you're in that dark place, I think that's when you wake up. It was for me anyway.
I think it is for a lot of people. Joel, I'm sure, would agree with that, because he had very much the same experience. I don't know that I can point to a specific experience that I've had that's been like that, because on those occasions where I've been really, really depressed, there was no big turnaround in a short period of time. It was always a long struggle for me to climb out.
Yeah, it was still a struggle to get out of that. But I think when you've got to that low place, that's when, for me anyway, that was when I made the decision to not accept being there anymore. And
yes.
Then put the work in to get out of it and,
I agree with
move,
that. Yeah.
Move to a different place. Because the work, I'm not saying it was a quick switch and I was, wait, I'm happy now.
Right.
That's not what happened. That's not what happened. I was in this dark place, but I then decided I didn't want to be there anymore. And the only way to do that, the only common denominator that could change that was me.
Yeah. I agree with that completely. Yeah. Because for me, it was not so much what was it? It was a determination that I'm just done with this. I don't want to be here anymore.
Absolutely.
I'm completely done with it. In fact, I think that's probably what I actually said. I'm just done with this. I don't know what to do, but I'm done with this.
But that's it then, because you've consciously made a choice not to accept being in that place anymore.
Exactly.
Which means that's when you can change. It's awesome.
Well, I'm fascinated too by people there are a lot of people in this world who spend a lot of time focusing on what they don't want. And they'll often defend it, and they'll do it deliberately. It could be somebody who likes to play violent video games, focusing on all this stuff that they really don't want in their lives, but they feel like they're getting an excitement out of it. They're getting a thrill out of it. Or, somebody who focuses on politics or the news, or somebody who's into the entertainment industry and they're following all the gossip columns, or, people just, they get so fascinated. I kind of get it, but I don't completely get it, but they just get so fascinated that it's almost like they're addicted to watching this thing that is so unpleasant.
Yeah. Absolutely. You'll get, but, it's the perfect example is the media and the news, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to mention names or people, but I've got certain people I know in my life, or from past life, that will watch, they'll get up in the morning, they'll put the news on, and then all they'll do all day is be angry and wound up about what they've seen on the news, and it'll ruin their whole day.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, well, just
and I've done that.
It.
I've done that. I mean, I know what that feels like. I've done that. And when you're in the middle of it and you know about deliberate creation, it's a very strange thing to say to yourself, I know that this is what I'm doing to myself. Why do I keep doing this? Why am I doing this? Right?
It's a funny old thing, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, that's the strangest thing in the world, to be stuck in a mindset, in a negative spiral, to know that you got yourself stuck in that mindset, to watch yourself, and then to continue to stay there anyway. Like, what the heck is going on here?
Yeah, what am I actually, why am I doing this? But also, yeah, I think sometimes, because I do put myself in those situations sometimes. I sometimes have a day where I'll sit in something that I don't need to. Right. I don't need to sit in, but I'll choose to. And I think it's a form of self-sabotage in a way.
Yeah.
So hang on, you're too happy now, Stephen. So let's think about something negative and then let it upset us, and we'll sit there for a while until we've had enough of it, and then we'll come back out. But you're right. You'll sit there and you'll be literally watching yourself doing it and saying, "Why am I still doing this? Why am I still? Can you stop it now?" And then you'll get angry with yourself, which then puts you further in it.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, I think you get better with pulling yourself out of it over time, and the more practice that you do.
You do.
But I think we can all do it. We can all go and sit in some form of pain, self-created pain, if we choose to. But it is a choice. It is a choice. And once you've made that choice to stop doing it and come out, when you come out of it, I always end up laughing at myself. Just having a good giggle.
Well, listen to what we're doing here. We're laughing at it right now. I remember too, in college, I remember when I took Psych 101 and 102. I remember, it's kind of like a survey of psychology at that point, right? And they talk about Freud, and then they pretty soon move on to Carl Jung. And one of the classic Jungian phrases is the death wish, the idea that built within us is this tendency to want to die or to want to suffer or along that line. And I remember in school I thought to myself, that is the dumbest thing I have ever heard in my life. Who on earth would have a death wish inside? And now I think to myself, boy, oh boy, was I missing the boat. My death wish keeps popping up in various times. Like, why can't I get rid of this darn thing?
Yeah, it's true, isn't it? I think we've been, I don't know whether it's built into our DNA or what. It's instinct from when we used to be hunter-gatherers, living out in the bush or whatever. Oh. We've still got that in our DNA, but now we haven't got the danger that we used to have living in that situation.
True.
We now have to create that danger ourselves in our minds to feed that. I think maybe that's it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does feel like it's an old program that has just kind of carried over, like you say, through the DNA or whatever. Linda Armstrong talks about that a lot. She talks about, and Bill G, who's one of the newest co-hosts, talks about clearing stuff from past lives even. And the first time I heard that, I said to myself, well, there's another wacky concept. And then I remember the thing about Carl Jung. I said, well, maybe it's not so wacky. But this whole idea that, you can carry stuff from earlier in your life or even from a previous life is in and of itself quite a challenging concept. And then to have gone through both of those people, Linda actually led me through, and she's led us through meditations that involved clearing that kind of stuff. And you go through it, and she says, okay, I've just cleared it. And you say to yourself, I didn't feel anything. What happened? But on the other hand, while doing the exercises, she would say, okay, I'm going to come to you energetically, and poof, I feel the energy coming at me. So some of that I would experience, right? So I guess what I'm saying is I'm putting together piece by piece little bits of experience that tell me, yeah, this really is true. Yeah, this really is happening. Okay, well, if I accept that it's happening, now the next question becomes, if it's happening, why is it happening? How is it happening? How is it that we're transmitting stuff from a prior lifetime into this lifetime? I mean, how would that mechanism even work? I don't even know. And then I remind myself, oh yeah, I don't understand how a human being walks. Because, I mean, look what a human being is. A human being is a collection of billions of cells, and these billions of cells actually manage to somehow get themselves into a vertical position and walk on command from the mind, and we don't know how that happens.
Yeah, when you put it like that, yeah, that's quite, it's phenomenal.
It is.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, how could all those billions of cells have that kind of tensile strength, for instance, to make you stand up? You know, why is it that certain cells come together and form bones that are these strong, rigid things, and other things come together to form muscles, and others form fat, and others form eyelids, and like, what the hell? What is going on here?
It's awesome, isn't it?
I guess what I'm saying is the more that I learn, the more I realize I have left to learn.
That's it, yeah. But you can deep dive into this stuff, and it can blow your mind. But even some of the books that I've read of just the stuff in there in some of these books about quantum mechanics and quantum physics.
Anything particular come to mind? I mean, we got like only a minute or so to tell a story, but I'm just curious. Anything that you're thinking about, that one particular thing that stood out for you?
There is one book, I will share it later on. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but I'll put it in the comments, which is a good one to read.
Okay.
I can't remember what it's called, but it's something about the quantum universe. I can't remember exactly, but that's a good book. But it puts it in terms that are easier to understand. I can't remember the name of it.
That's all right.
Off the top of my head, but yeah, we've talked about it before, haven't we? How matter is the sort of slowest vibrating energy form there is.
Right. Yeah.
The rest of it is all, before it forms down into matter, is all quicker vibrations, which are our thoughts and feelings and all this other stuff. And
you want to keep you want to keep the pain reliever handy, the bottle of pain reliever. You want to keep that handy when you're reading quantum physics because it'll give you a headache trying to make sense out of some of this stuff.
Yeah. No, you don't. I'd never advise taking drugs when you're reading a quantum physics book. That'll definitely make it blow your mind, Walt.
Okay. Well, let's just put it this way. This is always my favorite one to refer to. But when I learned that quantum physics teaches that an electron can be in two places at the same time, my brain just kind of went into meltdown at that point because I couldn't imagine, how could it be in two places at the same time? That's not possible.
But that shows you that there are alternate realities.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And it's a layered effect of all these different possibilities in the quantum field that you can choose which ones you bring into your awareness. That's how awesome it is.
That's the cool part.
That's how awesome.
No doubt about it.
Yeah, that's the cool part. You can have anything you want if you believe you can. There we go.
Well, that's a good way to end the show because we've kind of taken off and ended up, in deep orbit. So that's appropriate, I would say. Hey, before we go, though, Steve, since you're a life coach, I want to make sure I give you the opportunity. Tell people how to reach out to you if they need a personal contact, even just to reach out and say hello.
They can either contact me on my Facebook page. So I think you can click through from LOA Today, can't you?
Yeah, I think you can. Yeah.
Yeah. But I'll just type my name in, Steve Rowell. They can visit my website, which is www.dolifeonpurpose.com. That is being rebuilt and rejigged at the moment, so it might be that it doesn't work right now. Also, you can find me on Instagram at ste.rowell, R-O-W-E-L-L. That's my Instagram tag. So do follow me on there as well. There's some great quotes on how to level up your mindset over a period of time on there, so that's good.
Cool.
But yeah, main one is just contact me on Facebook. I'll get on my website, click through to the links, and you can book a free call with me if you like. Have a chat. Good.
Sounds good. All right. Well, then, on that note, I'll be talking to you, I guess, next Tuesday. It'll be Tuesday morning, won't it be? Yeah, that's right. So Tuesday's the next show. So, good stuff. Thank you very much for doing this one. Thanks to our listeners as well. We'll see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.
absolutely good man.